Now, everyone who knows me, right, knows that I would actually spend like maybe 4 hours or 3 hours and some change to actually watch or listen to an interview, being it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or even on YouTube. Everyone knows that. It's not because of anything. It's because I like to listen to people tell stories, and I also like to listen to people speak. That's basically it. I take so much delight in doing that, right? Now, just this weekend, I was listening to the Joe Biden's podcast, and I was listening to him and then his homies, like they were all cracking jokes and all of that. And I was asking myself, we don't really have a podcast like that in Ghana, let alone for artists, because Joe Biden's podcast is it's a podcast for artists where artists come on and then they speak. Quite recently, Doechii went on there and she went to even speak on her tape, Alligator Bites Never Heal and all. She spoke about it even way months before she even won the Grammys and all of that. And I was asking myself, Ghanaian artists, and I'm always going to say Ghanaian artists because that's actually the center stage of everything I do. I actually speak. It's more or less like a masterclass for artists where you actually watch this editorial and then actually learn from it. You watch this editorial and then tighten your stuff, right? Ghanaian artists are lacking so much because I was thinking about it. There's never been any Ghanaian like interview, right? And I'm putting it on the artists. I would actually come to the interviewers later. There's never been any Ghanaian interview of an artist that I've seen and I'm like, I'm very intrigued. I need to watch this maybe for like 2 hours or maybe for an hour and some change. There's never been something like that. Never. Mainly because these people are actually boring. Like they are very boring. And when I say they are boring, it's not that like they're just there and they are not saying anything. They don't even have the skill as to how to answer questions, right? Now I've had the chance to actually interview artists a lot, so I know what I'm saying. I know what I'm talking about. Now I get the chance to speak to artists, and I even watch interviews of Ghanaian artists, and then they go to media platforms and then they ask them questions about their songs. They ask them questions about the creative direction behind their cover arts. They ask them questions about the creative direction behind their videos and what's not. And then everything that they say is flat. There's no story backing whatever it is that they are saying. And these are the things that draws the listener or draws the viewer to you, the artist. Now, I have this interview that I ran for emerging artists and then also for artists who recently just released music. It's titled I'm Up and then New Drops. If you've not checked it, you can actually go and then check it out right now on FulLCircl, right? And anytime I'm speaking to the artists, I tell them, this is your platform. This interview belongs to you right now. Make sure you sell your new music to whoever is going to watch or whoever doesn't know you. To the extent that even if the person sees it, the person will be like, I actually like really like whatever it is that you're saying. Let me just go and then go and check your music out. And then that's it. You've just won yourself a fan. I always tell them this, but because Charlie, this thing is a skill issue. Some of them, they don't even have like PR training and what's not like that. So Charlie, then they lack. But that is why I'm here to actually fix these things, right? Now you watch Davido's interviews and then you are drawn to him. You're like, I like this guy's persona. I like how he tells his story. It's not because of anything. Davido's stories are always coherent. Whatever he says at Breakfast Club with DJ Envy and Charlemagne the God, he's going to say the same thing with Ebuka in that podcast that Ebuka was doing during lockdown, right? Last year, I watched the Afrobeat Intelligence podcast with Joey Akan and then Lona. That was even like after I'd listened to Lona's Homeless tape and all of that. Now, I listened to the podcast, actually. I didn't watch, I listened to it because I remember where I was when I listened to the podcast. And Lona was actually, everything Lona was saying, he just laid it all out there. He even cried on the podcast. That was how personal it felt, or that was how personal the interview felt, right? After the breakdowns and after telling certain stories, I got a greater sense of appreciation for his art and his music. Hell, I even went back to play the tape again, and I really understood what he meant by certain things because he actually broke everything down. So being at Buju Banton on Drink Champs, right, where everything he's saying, like his journey to Ghana, he actually being a DJ before in Jamaican, like they have something they call DJ. If you're a DJ, it means like you're an MC, even way before DJ. Like I actually learned these things from these interviews, right? He tells stories, and I'm saying it again. Ghanaian artists don't really have PR training. Hell, they don't even understand the essence of these things. That is why their interviews are boring. That is why they thrive on controversy. That is why most of the things they do, it lacks depth. It's because of these things. And I was thinking to myself, like, yo, one of the very coolest ways, or one of the very easiest ways for you to actually appreciate these things, or even like learn the skill of actually telling stories when it comes to interviews, is basically you sitting down, taking yourself through these things. Watch interviews. Learn how people, learn to speak. Watch people speak. Take yourself out of these things. Expand your mind, broaden your horizon. Watch different stuff. It shouldn't even be music. Watch different stuff. I can actually sit down with you and actually talk to you about the Amazon rainforest and I even have, let's say, like a 0.25% knowledge about the Amazon rainforest because of a Joe Rogan podcast I listened to. It was 3 hours long. I enjoyed it. I was listening to it and I was even picturing stuff. I can actually sit down with you and then talk to you about Congo because I watched a Joe Rogan podcast with David Cho and he spent some time in his life, in Congo. I can actually sit down with you and tell you a lot of things. And sometimes I get that a lot. I'll be talking to people and they'll be like, but how you know this? How you know this? Bro, it's just because I'm a student of the game. I want to always learn. That is why I take so much delight in these things. It's not because of anything. I want to know. Information is easily accessible. The moment you start knowing these things, it's easier for you to actually pull references from. And it's even going to help you with your craft, your music, everything. You end up coming off really, really refined. But you have these, and sometimes because our artists also lack depth and then they don't have these things, so sometimes they write certain things and then you're like, what is? But then again, too, it's a greater task for A&Rs too as well because, bro, these artists, every A&R that is working with an up-and-coming artist or that is working with an artist that is already established, the job is not just the sound. The job is also PR, training. It's all of these things. It's all of these things. It's not even with telling stories alone. It's how you even look in front of camera. If you twitch a lot, if you blink a lot. I'm wearing glasses right now because I blink a lot, and I've gotten so many comments about it. So the only way to actually bring it down, I'm wearing glasses because I have two moons in front of me, bro. My eyes are so sensitive, so I just have to block it with the glasses. That's the only way. You just need to find a fine balance and actually blend in. That is it. You don't have to appear boring. You need to read stuff. You need to listen to stuff. You need to have certain conversations with people. You need to change your circles sometimes. That is the only way you'd actually come off refined. But most importantly, telling stories is very, very important because, bro, you sit down with artists and then you talk to them, and then sometimes some of the things they say, it makes you even feel like they even wrote their songs for them. There's no story behind their song, and then they'll tell you that it's just in the music. It's bro, sometimes those things are not enough unless you're an already established artist. You can't be doing those things. You need to actually walk people through, tell people the stories. And sometimes for the interviewers too as well, sometimes you need to do your homework to actually bring that part or that storytelling bit out of whoever it is, the artist you're interviewing. But if you try and then they are still not doing it, maybe that is them. And that is the job of their A&R, maybe that's the job of their team to actually get them shaped and then refined. To tell stories. You can sit down with an artist and ask them a question. Just a simple question about their cover art, and they'll be able to break everything down to you in layers. An artist can actually break down a verse, which is probably 16 or something, can actually turn into a 32 minutes or maybe a 45 minutes conversation. These are the things that we live for. People live for stories. That is why we are in the era of podcasts. That's why we are in the era of editorials. That is why you are actually going to watch this right now. Get your stories together. Don't be boring, bro. We don't just care about the music. We care about the stories behind the music. We care about the stories behind the artists. Tell us these things. It's just not the music. And that is why sometimes, Charlie, when I sing Bidor, because we don't really get these things. Aside the music, which sometimes the music is not all that good, and it's only a small fraction of people actually doing good music. Aside that, nothing they go. The industry is just thriving on controversies and whatnot. You guys should actually learn to get your stuff sorted out.